So let's go to a different location. We spent some time in Portland. Let's go to current times where you ladies are causing trouble at the border. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
what's going on? What's going on?
Oh my gosh. Well, the reason that we're here is because there is the Kumeyaay nation. Um, Indigenous folks, part of the nation is in the United States, part is in Mexico. So this is right where the border wall is going in. This particular span is 14 miles long.
It is very tall, by the way.
Yeah, because
It was
we
much
did get to
taller than
see
I
it.
anticipated.
Well,
Yeah.
what were you guys near the part of it that got blown over? Didn't part of it get blown over at one point, the border wall?
Oh, I don't
It
know. I
did.
haven't
I'm
heard
not sure if
about
we were
this
buying
yet.
the same, but yeah,
Okay.
it is. I could see that because it does. It seems like it's made out of fabric. Like I was surprised by that, but
We
it's
couldn't
quite
get
tall.
super close, but it was definitely
We got close
what
enough
I
where they were
expected.
not, where they ran my license plates.
Yeah, well, we'll have to tell that story too.
Yeah.
But so where they're constructing this wall, where they're having to, create dirt roads for the construction vehicles to go through, everything that goes into constructing something like this and building the wall, we have treaties and agreements with the Indigenous, with and their nations and their reservations, where there's supposed to be Indigenous monitors in these areas to make sure that things like sacred burial sites and artifacts are not disturbed,
Yeah.
or if they have to be disturbed, that they're handled appropriately. But that is not happening. The Indigenous are not being consulted.
No.
The Indigenous people have found areas where there are signs that they have that the construction crews have disturbed sacred sites. So there are ongoing protests. There was a camp at one point down by the border wall with Indigenous protesters that was swept out by police. Two were arrested. It's kind of stepped up a bit because a Trump supporter went down there where the protests were and just started smacking and hitting Native Americans. Nothing happened to her. The police said because no one called in a complaint at the time, and that the Native Americans were trying to be very peaceful. We're using prayer and redirection to try to get this woman to go away. So and these protests really aren't getting any
They're
attention.
getting covered. Yeah.
So that's why we're here. And
Wait. You all are claiming that protests involving Native Americans and Indigenous people is not getting covered by the corporate press.
Yeah,
That is a radical thesis. I don't know. I don't know if I believe it. I don't. I can't think of that ever happening in the past.
Yeah,
I
right.
guess there's a first time for everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But you could see when you go in there where they've disturbed, they're disturbing the land. It's quite clear that that's what's happening. And with the Pacific Crest Trail, which is right there, was what we were looking for. And we found one of the markers for it. It was definitely in an area that was security area we weren't supposed to be in. But
to back it up a little bit, we weren't looking for the Pacific Coast Trail for any reason except for we could not find the border for the longest time. So we found one specific point where we could aim for.
Yeah.
So that was the Pacific Coast Trail.
That was a good aiming spot though,
Yeah,
because obviously it was then. The GPS took us there, so we knew we were there. But then they were trying to tell us that wasn't the case, and the sign's right there.
Yeah, so there was a sign leading up on this one dirt road towards the
border
wall,
and
the sign said, keep out. This is be here.
Federal land, security.
So we sat there and we were like,
oh.
Okay, well, let's live on the edge a bit. Let's go drive up that road there. So we did.
All right, cool. You guys froze for a split second, but
sorry.
But you unfroze. So there's a little via me. Oh yeah. We're plowing through. Well, so let's get to the story where you all got in trouble at the border. What happened there?
Well, someone did stop. So when we went up that dirt road that we weren't supposed to be on, we got some pictures. I did a stand up in front of the wall. My cameraman John, I did did it really, really quick because we knew we weren't supposed to be there. But one of the patrol guys stopped and said, "Oh, what are you looking for?" And so Tina said, "Oh, we're looking for this
Pacific Crest
trail."
I said, "There's a sign right there, but I don't see the trail. I don't know where we are." I just played dumb.
Yeah, so we drove off. Everything was fine. We got down the road a bit, like back on the real road,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden there were some
There's
police
some
lights in the
police
rear
lights
view
behind
mirror.
I'm like, uh-oh. I'm
Did
like,
they
pull out your
follow
camera
you?
phone. No, they followed us. I don't know if they used a drone or something, but we were a good 10 minutes away at that point.
Mhm.
So they had to go chase us down. And the guy, he ran my place because the first thing he said out of his mouth is like, I see you're from Los Angeles. I'm like,
Right, and
"Ran
there
my
would have been
place."
no way for him to know that.
Unless he'd ran my place. Saw me
her-
wearing
I like how
Right.
that was automatically a cause for suspicion. Like,
know,
Los
Angeles, right?
Angeles.
I'm
I
like, all right,
see
I'm going to give you
you.
my best dumb blonde routine, buddy. You are so not going to arrest us today.
Yeah, he's like, why are you guys here? I see you're from LA. Tina did such a good job. Her acting skills came into good use in this situation. Totally played
Can't let
the
us go.
dumb blonde role, if I could say that.
Yeah, he's like, well, did you find the Pacific Rim? I'm like, no, we did not find it. Like, our GPS took us to this really strange spot.
Oh,
We're from Los Angeles. We're passionate
from-
about hiking.
right.
That's what we're here to do.
And we're not wearing hiking gear of any sort. So
It's like Kevlar vest in the back.
Well, what did you tell them? You like? Did they say why are you looking for it? And what did you say there? Like, did you?
No, they didn't ask, and I was surprised,
Mhm.
but they didn't ask. In fact, he ended up giving us directions. I said, well, we'd like to go tomorrow. If you want to tell us where it is, that'd be great.
yeah, really playing it up. But we have to point out, it was a car full of white people. So we're, 2 white women in the front seat, cameraman John, white in the back seat. So in my mind, it's like, how differently
Would
would
that
this
have played
have
out?
gone if we were brown or black?
Not the same. Definitely
Yeah.
not.
So let's stay there for a second. What other than the Trump person, going around beating people? What else have you seen at the protests so far since you've been covering it?
Well, it's interesting down here because the police have really targeted this group, but the protests have dispersed a bit and people are kind of regrouping. Now in Arizona, there's a different tribe down at that, border wall that is more active right now. So we right after we get off here, we're going to go to a local reservation with someone who's been very, very active with these protests. So it so happens that in our time here, in our 2 days here, there hasn't been like an active a protest event. So we're doing individual interviews with those who've been involved.
What have people been saying so far?
It's a same old story. Here we are with another Native American group where we're supposed to have these specific rules in place so that, again, their burial grounds can't be disturbed, so that they're asked to, are able to monitor, and none of that is happening. So it's another example of Native Americans being mistreated by our government, and nobody seems to care. And I think for these people, they're fighting for their faith, their history, their ancestry, and it is frustrating for them because no one seems to be paying attention, and they're going to keep fighting. But I think it's a little bit of a feeling of despair at this point.
Yeah, well, and I think you nailed it, Jen, when you say it's the same old story. That's the same story with Keystone, the Keystone XL pipeline. It's the same story with DAPL. These tribes where it is their land and they want a seat at the table. First, they're just straight up denied a seat at the table. Then if they're given one, well, we'll give you a seat, but we're just going to ignore you.
Yeah,
It's so wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's both parties. I mean, this is just the federal government, period, how they behave, and it's so immoral and it's so wrong.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your